Today, I would like to talk to the readers of this website about so-called, quote-unquote, strongman competitions on Earth. I think it's an interesting subject, so I'm going to give one video applied to the concept of strongman competitions. Wait a second now. Let's think about this. I have some interesting things that I'd like to mention, so I'm going to try to go through these facts relatively quickly. First off, I want to mention the fact that I think it's well known by now that the human race is aware that the professional wrestler Haku is renowned as the tough guy of wrestling, with gentlemen like Billy Gunn and, men like Harley Race are basically second and third in basic summary. But they make it sound, these wrestling people make it sound like the wrestler Mim or Haku is so tough that men like Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris wouldn't stand a chance against Haku, which in my opinion is rather foolish, Does that truly even make sense? I don't think that makes sense even. Now I have a question. There was a man in the 19th century who lived in Lucan, Ontario, Canada, who went by the name of Thomas Donnelly. And from the year 1973 until Thomas Donnelly's brutal death at the hands of, in my opinion, 30 cowards, while Tom was handcuffed, being so-called arrested by a group of vigilantes led by James Carroll and Martin McLaughlin and Jim Ryder. There was a man named Charlie McRoberts who owned the Old Dominion Hotel near Lucan, Ontario, Canada, who offered free drinks for a whole year for any man who could beat Tom Donnelly in a fight one-on-one. And after 7 years before the massacre of the Donnelly family, the offer still stood, meaning many men tried to beat Tom Donnelly one-on-one, but they never succeeded. Regarding the legendary Donnelly boys of Biddulph, Ontario, Canada, of which, it's said that Haku bit off the nose of a fighter, a brutal fighter in a bar one time. Haku just bit his nose off. Well, it's interesting that should be the case, because it's also renowned that Tom Donnelly bit off the nose of a brutal fighter in a bar one time too, who was trying to start a fight with Tom Donnelly. So, let's look at the facts closely. In real fights, Tom Donnelly was undefeated in many fights. No one stood a chance against him. But no one stood a chance against Haku too. So it's interesting. If you toss the dice, that would have been interesting. Would Haku have accepted the offer and said, okay, you're offering me free drinks for a whole year if I can beat Tom Donnelly in a fight, one-on-one? All right, says Haku, let's try it. And he met Tom Donnelly in a fight because Tom was renowned as being very tough. Just look at the history books. So I think that's an interesting question. But then if you want to go beyond that, then there's men like the Emperor Heraclius of Byzantium, who reigned the nation of Greece, meaning Byzantium, from the year, I believe it was 570 to 641. So he was born in 570, pardon me. He reigned from 610 AD to 641 AD, the Emperor Heraclius. Now this individual went a little beyond Tom Donnelly and Haku regarding physical prowess. The Emperor Heraclius was known to take on armies by himself. And it's even said that the Emperor Heraclius received a mortal wound that was healed, like he was struck in a war fighting against the Persian army. And by the way, the Emperor Heraclius defeated this army by himself while his soldiers stood back and drank a couple brewskis and watched their leader defeat the entire Persian army by himself. So let me ask you this. History says, connected to Revelation 13 verse 3, that the Emperor Heraclius received a mortal wound that was healed through a sword. History actually says that. So what's that, So that's a good question. If the Emperor Heraclius could take on armies by himself and defeat them, which history says that he actually did, and think about that now. Do you think Haku would even stand a chance? By way of John 6 verse 63 of the scriptures of Christianity? Do you think the wrestler Haku would even stand a chance against the Emperor Heraclius in a physical combat fight one-on-one? Obviously, what this comes down to is the Lord God of Israel giving a being power. And that's what the Lord God of Israel did for Heraclius, and he did it for Haku too, and Tom Donnelly. So, it's a matter of summarizing the facts. Look at the Christian scriptures. The Christian scriptures say that King Saul killed thousands in wars, basically in combat. And he was a valiant warrior. But it also says King David killed tens of thousands. And then you can go beyond that by saying, wait a minute, then there was the prophet Samson, who defeated armies by himself even without a sword. Like Samson didn't even hold a sword in his hand, and he defeated armies by himself. By himself, he defeated giants, like giants that were 9 feet tall. And Samson was only, an average-sized man, about 6 feet tall. He defeated armies of giants by himself. So, if you want to take it to the level of tough boys, I'd have to say that Samson would rip through Haku like Haku was nothing. Samson defeated 9 feet tall giant armies by himself. Not just one giant, like Haku defeated Andre the Giant by himself. Sure, yeah, in a fight at one point in time. But Haku didn't defeat armies of giants by himself. The prophet Samson of the Bible can say he defeated armies by himself. So what it comes down to, obviously, what it comes down to is the fact that the God of Israel gives you that strength until you die. The battle is the Lord's, says the Bible, right? So, you're not leveling the grade here properly, people, when you're saying, oh, this guy is tough or that guy is tough. The being that's truly tough and who you're supposed to honor in truth is the God of Israel, my half-brother. I'll deal with him soon. Oh, he's a jokester, and he's very powerful. But he knows not to mess with me when I see him. The problem is that I'm here for now, trapped in this body, because that was his challenge to my father Jesus and to the father of Jesus. So there's level grades there, right? You see what I'm saying? So all I'm trying to say is you have to measure the facts properly. Who's tough? The God of Israel. When I find him, he'll find out in my real form, he'll find out who I am. By way of C5Q79 of the Quatrains and Astrometers. So all I'm saying, folks, is that you measure the facts properly, right? That's what matters, is measuring the facts properly in this life. And it's the God of Israel who gives mortals strength, and even immortals. Because the Emperor Heraclius wasn't a mortal in this life, he was an immortal. And I suspect Haku is not really immortal in this life. He's an immortal too. He's tough. He's very tough. He's a god in this life. And I'm pretty sure I've pinpointed the fact that through Genesis 3 verse 22, Haku is definitely the god Ammon. So he can regenerate his powers if he wants to. Tom Donnelly was a god, but I haven't been able to pinpoint who Tom Donnelly really was in this life, which is interesting, because I can usually pinpoint these things in the spiritual world. For some reason, I haven't been able to pinpoint who Tom Donnelly truly was in deity status in this life, which is interesting. He's one of the few beings I haven't been able to pinpoint. But the real point is this: the God of Israel gives the victory in most cases, as I explain in my websites. So that's the video on strongmen that I felt needed to be related. So I related it. Connected to 2nd Esdras 13 and 2nd Esdras 7 verse 29 to 32. One guy, I want to finish off this video by saying this. I might be wrong in saying this. There's a possibility I'm wrong, because the spirit world plays games with beings like me, connected to Century 5 Quatrain 79. Evil spirits play games, and the God of Israel knows how to play games. But I think the humanity, personally, I just think humanity needs to watch that Russian leader. Because apparently he's a martial artist. I think he's a god in this life. I really do. I think he hated the tree of life in previous existences. And he's very crafty. So I'm just saying, I could be wrong, but I think that he's extremely dangerous. And I think the Russian people should take caution against him and remove him from office. But Russia's status of whatever they are, communism or whatever, whoever they are, whatever they want to call themselves, the Russian people, I think, should get that guy out of office, because I read some articles on the internet that said that he boldly is saying that he's going to bomb and nuke China and nuke Ukraine, and he doesn't care. He boldly said that. Now, Donald Trump said some crazy things like that, but Donald Trump isn't crazy. If you think Donald Trump is crazy, think again. He's not. He's a very smart man. He's not a psychopath like that guy in Russia. That guy in Russia is not sane. How he became leader of Russia is amazing. I think that if Russia doesn't get him out of office, there's a strong possibility he might stupidly use nuclear bombs. I can sense it, but I might be wrong. Because like I said, evil spirits play games, and they're in charge of this existence, connected to 2 Corinthians 4 verse 4. So me saying that might stop it to begin with, because evil spirits don't like it when someone speaks truth. That said, I still think that guy that's ruler of Russia right now, he's just dangerous. He needs to be taken out of office by the Russian people, because if the Russian people don't take him out of office, he's just going to cause problems, regardless of whether or not I'm right in saying that I think he might start World War III with nuclear bombs, because the crazy things he said, he clearly said, if China and if the Ukraine think I ain't going to use nuclear bombs to make them do as I want them to do, they're crazy. The Russian leader said, they're just stupid if they think I'm not going to bomb them and nuke them. So when a leader says that, think about it. He boldly, without any reserve at all, he said, I'll just bomb China and I'll just bomb Ukraine if they don't do as I say. He said that in quotes on the internet. So my suggestion is for the Russian people to get him out of office, because he's just plain crazy. He's not nuts. He's psycho in a very strange way. He knows what he's doing, but he's crazy to the point where he'll use nuclear bombs, unlike Donald Trump. Donald Trump wasn't crazy. Donald Trump was actually a good leader who wanted to protect America. And they put this other guy in office who's been charged with crazy offenses? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Donald Trump, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, Donald Trump was just a good leader who wanted to protect America. He's not crazy. He wouldn't just use nuclear bombs for no real righteous purpose, even though Donald said, if I had to, I would. That's what Donald implied. This guy in Russia is saying he'll just use nuclear bombs to force these countries to do what he wants. And I think he means it. I think this Russian guy means it, to the point where my suggestion is for the Russian people to get that guy out of office, because he's playing psycho in a way that is extremely dangerous, where he will use nuclear bombs. That's just my personal opinion. He might not use them, but I think he's dangerous to the point where he will use them if he gets the opportunity to and he's challenged. So that's just my opinion. So anyways, that's my video on tough men. And it does surprise me too. Before I finish this video, I'd like to say this. It does surprise me that human history makes it clear that the Emperor Heraclius received a mortal wound that was healed. The Byzantine Emperor of Byzantium in the year 631 AD, according to the Chronicle of Theophanes and the other chronicles that I read, it clearly says that, oh, by the way, it says that the Emperor Heraclius fought lions and bears, full-grown lions and bears by himself, and ripped them apart in the Roman Colosseum for the entertainment of the Byzantine people. Of course, he's the Antichrist spoken of by St. John in Revelation 13, verse 3. That's obvious. And Muhammad received a mortal wound too, but that was healed, by the way. I don't know if humans know that, but that's actually factual. What's the standard of Islam? Islam says that if you deny Christ his divinity, that's Antichrist. That's what Islam clearly teaches. So if Islam teaches that if you deny Christ his divinity, you're of the Antichrist, then who do you think Muhammad truly was? He received a mortal wound along with Heraclius, and they exchanged gifts according to Daniel chapter 11, verses, I believe it's 44. Daniel 11, verses 44, I believe, says that they exchanged gifts one with another in precious stones. Heraclius received a magical cap, which so long as he wore it, gave him relief from the pain that he received from the mortal wound that he received in battle. Like, if you connect the dots together, it amazes me that humans can't see that the Emperor Heraclius was clearly the Antichrist, referred to by St. John in Revelation 13, verse 3, which there were 16 major Antichrists, obviously, connected to Revelation 13, verses 1 to 13, and Revelation 17, verses 8 to 11. It's just a matter of connecting the simple dots. How humans don't do that is, that's pretty strange, in my opinion. But, okay, so that's a good question, too. Like, history makes it clear that Heraclius defeated armies by himself and ripped apart full-grown lions and full-grown bears by himself in the Hippodrome, the Roman Colosseum at that time, for the entertainment of the Greek people. Tell me that's not weird, that human history would clearly say that's factual. And yet humans haven't been able to connect the dots that say that in Revelation 13, verse 3, it says that there will be one of the Antichrists, the major Antichrists, that receive a mortal wound that's healed. And humans haven't been able to connect those simple dots yet. That's just weird in my opinion. But if you can rip full-grown lions apart with your bare hands, according to human history, that's what the Emperor Heraclius did, then I'd say that's a tough guy, isn't it? Like, that's pretty well a tough guy. If you, as a man on earth, can rip full-grown, powerful lions and full-grown bears to pieces with your bare hands for the entertainment of the Greek people, which is what human history says Heraclius did, is that not a tough guy? I'd say that's pretty well a tough guy. I mean, it says in the book of Revelation that the God of Israel, Satan, gave Heraclius that power. And he gave him his throne and his seat, and all the world wondered after the beast. That's what it says. But for humans to have not been able to figure out that's the case, that's amazing in my opinion. How could humans not figure that out yet? So I think I'll leave this video at that. I'll just leave it at that. That's my video on tough guys in this world. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you.